were just discussing air quality.
Yep.
In China specifically.
Right.
Certainly it applies to India, lots of other countries. But let's
Right.
talk about China. What role do you think tall buildings can play specifically in eliminating or reducing air pollution?
I read some newspapers. It's the government report saying that the major contribution for the pollution is the first is about the traffic. The other is about from the buildings because of energy consumptions. So I think for the tall buildings, we can do several things. One, of course, you build a quite energy efficient building systems, and the others control the waste management is also going to help a lot, because during the construction there's a lot of wastement, and also during construction there's a lot of dust from the job site, especially tall building. You have a huge site, and a lot of dust is going to happen during the construction. And I think the other is education. Educate the tenants, the people inside of building, change their habit, make them aware of the environment is very important. So I think, especially high buildings, you have so many people working in the building or living in the building. So it's quite helpful. So I think these items can help.
So make the building more efficient, but also the building occupants,
the
people in the buildings, make them more efficient.
Yeah, during the construction and after it's occupied.
Yeah.
So we can also continue to educate the people. Yeah.
Are there any sort of technologies for cleaning the air itself that could be incorporated?
Well, I think changing the air quality by the HVAC system or the other air cleaning system inside of building is also going to work. But that's protected people inside of building. But how about the people outside?
Else.
Right. So there's huge amount of people outside of building than inside. So I think, of course, you can provide fresh airs, for the people who is living in the buildings. And I think that technology is being developed very quickly in the past couple of months or a couple of years, because of the energy, the pollution. Every house, every people, they buy some cleaning equipment, air cleaning equipment in their house for their families. Yeah, so that's like a must, not like a refrigerator, like the TV sets that you need to have in your house for China.
But then the challenge is to clean the air for everybody else.
Yes. Like the environment is much bigger things.
What potential do you see for green walls in tall buildings?
Well, green walls. I think people like greens, just like they like fresh air. They like to breathe fresh air rather than stay in an interior side to rely on the air conditioning system. So I personally involved in a couple of the green wall projects. Like one of them is located in Shanghai. It's a K11 art center in Huahai Road, close to Xintiandi, by the way. And that building actually adopt the green wall system. It's a natural green plants on the vertical walls. I think this is like a trend, or most of people like it, because when the customer visit the mall, they want to, they're looking at the greens and they feel happy and they will spend more money. So that's basically how it's going to help for the economy side. But the other side is because the city is limited because a lot of development or occupied areas. So the vertical greens can also help to contribute to the green ratio that is required usually by the code or government. So it's like a new thing, but it also has challenge because it's quite new. You need to involve in a lot of people in the design phase before the construction, because like architect, they are looking on aesthetic issues, and the structural engineer, they are looking on the structural issues, and you got M&E engineers who look at the water supply issues and the maintenance issue, look after by the property management people.
You need landscape architects.
Landscape architects and the facade consultant, because it's vertical. So a lot of people engaged in the design phase. So you need to coordinate much better, because it's a system that's going to stay with the building for a very long time. So you need to watch very carefully on that.
Is there, among all those different fields, one topic, tall building design, construction, operation, that needs more research, or that you think is an area that's exciting in innovation now?
Well, I think operation and management it should be people should focus more on, because a lot of topics in the conference about the tall buildings, but they're talking about the design and the construction most of the time. I noticed there's very few focus on the management. But think about the life of building. The construction only maybe 5 to 10 years of the building life, but the rest of the life will be management or maintained by a proper team. So that areas you can really damage or waste what you produce in the design phase or in the construction phase. I read a news from the lead Green Building Council several months ago. It's about talking about a building which is like a 30, 40 years old, but perform better than a lead, maybe gold projects.
From a few years ago. Yeah.
Why? Because the maintenance systems, how they operate the buildings is totally different, because like older buildings, you get the old facade system, old HVAC system, but they use it wisely, right? For example, they turn off the lights when they leave the building, and they close the air conditioning system when the weather is good, the condition is good. Then compared to the current modern buildings, people who don't understand how to operate or maintain the building, they can waste a lot of energies or waste a lot of money by doing things not necessarily. Yeah. So that's the things I think you should focus on. But provide a clever or bright system that can help to operate the buildings more wisely, more efficiently is very important.
So let's talk about your work on facades and facade design. How do you think the field of facade design has changed since you began your career?
Well, I began my career like 13 years ago, after I graduated from my university. Actually, it's changed a lot, because from like at that time, the Chinese curtain wall or facade code is very primary, and what you need to do is just to follow that, and you're done. You don't need to worry about the other things. But like today's, there's a lot of new standards or regulations being adopted, like LEED V4 or Living Building Challenge or Net Zero buildings or passive house design. So all these things are outside of the national standards or codes. So you need to understand them, and you need to know how to achieve them from the technical side. So there's a lot of challenge, because the code become more and more strict, but the technology is not so advanced at this moment, because we're still using the old technology like 20 years ago. But like the IGU system, like the low E system. But there's other challenges from the energy efficiency requirements they request for triple glazing system, for example. They need a very thick glass. How it's going to fit into the current frame system, because it's only allow IGU or double glaze. So that kind of things you need to understand in a design stage. Uh, you need to know how to solve this problem or talk to the people who is designing them. So that's a lot of work because a lot of new informations. Also, there's a lot of new materials. You need to know how to validate them, and you need to be confident with them. But a new for a new designer or engineer, he may not have such experience. So you need to dive into a lot of technical details to develop a system that works for the stricter code or requirements.
What are some of the main challenges in building envelope design going forward?
Well, I think three things. First, cost, of course, money is most important, and the other is like the performance, and third is the quality. So cost is the first thing because the developer, he want to know how much money he want to put in a project. But like I said, if the code or the requirements become more and more strict, and he still keep the old mind, you have to convince him, or either you work out the solution in a limited budget. So that's the things that I think most of people are working on, struggling in these days, because the cost and the requirements is not going higher in the same time. And the other thing is, like I said, is the performance. So the performance is more and more strict, like the energy efficiency requirement is more and more strict. Like the Chinese, they have a global, like a national energy efficiency standard, which increased from 50 energy saving from 75 energy saving. That's
Percent?
percent. That's a large increasement. So, but as I said, the technology is not really understanding what he need to do, or what it means. 75%, like 25% increasement. So they have to working on that and dealing with that. And the last thing is the quality, but quality should be the first thing. But especially in China, in the recent maybe 2 or 3 years, there's a lot of criticism on the facade system or curtain wall system, because a lot of high-rise building, they have curtain wall panels or glass falling off from the building, and it sometimes cause property damage, or some people is getting hurt from that or killed. So that's the things that they put a lot of pressure on the industrial. But I think like the government, Chinese government, how they think is they try to find a direct way or an immediate way how to fix this problem. But things is not like that. So, but anyway, they decide to do that. So, for example, you can see in Shanghai, they control the glass ratio, just because they worry that the glass is going to falling off from the building. That is something that you cannot argue with, but you need to think about how to deal with it. But these things can damage the industrial, but you have to keep talking to the people to make them understand why it's going to fall off and what's the reason. It's not just, you cannot just simplify, say I wanna no glass on the building and keep everything safe,
Right.
because the curtain wall system is still the lightest structure, the envelope structure for the building. You cannot imagine for a 600-meter tower they use brick or concrete on the building. It's so too tall, too heavy. It's not going to work.
Looking forward, what sort of innovations or fields of research, developments in facade design, or you could take it more broadly as tall building design, do you find most?
Yeah, as I said, the technology is not advanced. We still use some technology in 20 years ago in China, but they do have some innovations, like Dalconing. We have a lot of innovation as well, like a smart window system, which it's a kind of product or system that can allow to control the shading coefficient of building. Especially light transmittance is really preferred by architects or user. They like see-through the glass, very clear view on outside. But in the opposite way, they need to control the shading coefficient to block the radiation of the solar heat. But that is conflict two things. Light transmittance and shading coefficient is conflict with each other. You cannot get both higher. One lower, the other is higher, but one higher, the other is lower. So, but you have like a smart window, smart glass products. You can have both higher or lower
Because you
as
can
needed.
change it.
Because you can change or switch the glass to a dark color or to transparent. Yeah.
Do you see that happening in other ways where building occupants can change parts of the building that previously were static?
Yeah, I think right now they're working on how to commercialize this because it's still very expensive because of the technology is quite new and the material they use is new. So if they work out on the price side, they can really, I think it's really preferred by the industry. And also there's other materials like super or not super high performance insulation. It's like a 1/10 thickness of the traditional insulation.
But just as insulating.
Yeah, but you can get the same performance with very thin, like a 1-inch thickness of insulation is equal to like 200 mm
Wow.
normal insulation. That can save a lot of space, especially for high-rise building. You know, the commercial buildings, they like more space, usable space that can contribute to the economic of the investment return of the money.
Very interesting developments.
Yeah, I think it's quite new, but it takes times for the whole facade industry to adopt or accept this technology because this industry has no innovation for almost 20 years. So every little things that enter the market or in the industrial, they need to they will question it and they will see how it goes. But you will build some project reference first to show how durable it is and what's the problem it may have before they use it very widely.